Welcome Benidar ji. Welcome Meenal, Professor Meenal.
Namaskar,
Thank
sir.
you, Bhaskar. Thank you.
Yeah.
Namaskar to all of you.
Welcome, welcome.
I think so. We should proceed.
Yeah, we start. People will keep joining. No issues.
Yeah.
And once you give it to me, you give me hosting right so that I can chase.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
Kakoli, you kindly take care of this. Huh? A very good evening to you all. It is an honor to welcome this August gathering who have joined us today for the webinar on science, technology, and innovation policy. As we all are aware that science, technology, and innovation are pillars of growth of a nation, and future course of Indian science is dependent on the policies which are being adopted by our country to promote science, technology, and innovation. And we all will also agree to the fact that we need to be aware of the upcoming policy or changes which have been made in the policy so that we are in a position to make an informed choice in our field of research. And no one would have been more better than Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Varshney, sir, to enlighten us on this aspect. He is head of the International Scientific Corporation in the Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India, and he has facilitated and many international scientific cooperations among national and international groups. He also has many prestigious positions of responsibility to his name. To name a few, he is the Indian co-chair governing body Indo-German Science and Technology Center and Indo-US Endowment Fund. He is also the focal point for BRICS Working Group on Science and Technology, OECD Committee on Science and Technology Policy. He has been actively writing many articles on science policies, international scientific cooperation, and on popularization of science. Though his achievements are for us, but due to paucity of time, we will proceed with the webinar now. I extend you a very warm welcome, sir, and over to you for the webinar.
Thanks, Ashima. And namaskar to everyone. Today, I have been asked to discuss on upcoming policy on science, technology, and innovation. And before I discuss on this policy, I thought it would be appropriate. Let us just see what we are expecting when we are talking about policy. So actually, policy could be defined in many ways. But basically, we decide what could be the series of action, what is that we would like to achieve, and what are the decisions we need to take? And of course, it needs to be interactive, a continuous process of experimentation and learning. It should not be repeating whatever we have done already. We should know what has pros and cons, and constantly it should help us in learning process. So that is something very important. And if I could say in some other context, then policies deals with everything. What are our current problems? What are our plans to handle them? What are the ideas, interests, opportunities, threat, challenges? All those what you feel is part of normal SWOT analysis has to be done. And of course, we have to take care what are the political need of the governments and what are the interests of the community. Policy works basically on government priorities, how government would like to put focus on any one particular aspect. And second, what is the public understanding of that thing? And of course, the issues which we are going to handle. And policy is also very good understanding how government operates. What are the government's difficulty in implementation of anything? So you will see there are many policies which make so many recommendations, but not fully implemented. They are implemented in part, or they are not at all implemented. And sometimes the political decisions are taken to keep it off the shelf for some time. There are a lot of stakeholders who are constantly expressing their desire, and they would like to manage, analyze, communicate, negotiate, all those kind of things we are getting in the policy document. And of course, it is skill set of presentation of informations, how we are going to implement it further. So before I go further, let me just give you a snapshot of Indian scientific departments. So there are a number of scientific departments in this country, and I think I need not to explain you what is this department, except the fact that these departments, except Department of Science and Technology, are very, very thematic and focused in their business. So atomic energy deals with atomic energy, earth science deals with earth science, biotechnology deals with biotechnology, electronics and information technology with electronics. DST, on the other hand, deals with general aspects. DST would like to deal in all multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, or newer sciences. We are promoting both basic and applied sciences. So I have written, there are some other departments like Ministry of Education, Ministry of Agriculture, Renewable Energy, Environment and Forest, which also have substantial part of research. Now, if you see in terms of geology, the subject which we are concerned with, it is led by virtually every department. So whether it is atomic energy, which has atomic mineral division, space, they are dealing with satellite imagery and those kind of things. DRDO deals with terrain, Ministry of Earth Science, you know it well. Biotechnology deals with medical geology, health research also you can say, so agriculture, education. So I think all of them have some or the major or minor component of geology. And besides this, we have got Ministry of Coal, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Water, Jal Shakti, which are not typically classified as scientific department, but still they have some science in them. Now, as I said little earlier, the policy is a document which help us review what we are doing and what we would like to achieve. And it's a journey in between which we are doing. So just to give you a position where we are there today. So we are number 3 in terms of scientific publication as per the NSF database. On the other hand, we are number 5 as per Scopus database. These two databases are different, but then we are using both of them. We are number 3 in terms of number of PhDs. We are number 3 in terms of number of startups. Also now number 3 in terms of number of unicorns. Now, this is our current position. And if you compare it in last 5 years, so we have followed the process of ease of doing research. We have promoted incubations, which has helped us in improving our performance at Global Innovation Index, where we have notched up nearly 25 positions in period of 7 years, from 81 to 46. So today we are in top 50, and our target is that in next 10 years we should be in top 20, which is really very, very challenging. We have been working extensively on gender parity in science, and women participation in extramural research has grown over a period of last 7 years, just doubling. Now, we may be publishing number 3 or number of PhD we have, but as far as our patents are concerned, we are number 9. But again, we have improved there. Of course, our progress there is little slow, and I hope you know, in our current scenario, lot of stress from the academic faculty, from scientific faculty is for the publication, whereas patents are equally important, and our faculty needs to learn what is to be published, what is to be patented. And I'm sure even time to come, we need to improve upon this ranking also from the current 9th. Now, just for your information, of course, there are several figures, but when we are talking about gross expenditure on research, it has doubled or tripled rather in last 10 years in actual terms. But if you are talking in terms of percentage of GDP, it is quite low as compared to several other economies of the world. And we are currently operating at the level of 0.8%. Now, several years ago, the government has decided that we would like to keep it around 2%. And when we are saying 2% of the GDP goes for research and development, it means not only funding from the government, it means funding from the government as well as funding from the industries for this purpose, so that we could attract more and more researchers. Now, in this background, we have started the exercise called Science, Technology and Innovation Policy, which is currently with the government. And we have gone into several rounds of discussions. Now, most interestingly, this policy was developed when we were sitting at home during the COVID period, and there was season or fashion of webinars. And we organized number of webinars, virtually 2 or 3 every day, to discuss this thing. And we have taken all possible stakeholders, the graduate student, master student, doctoral student, postdoctoral student, faculty, scientists, researchers, industries, NGOs, anybody who could have contributed, and from different background, from university background, lab background, different age groups we have consulted. We have consulted several state governments, how they would like it to be, how they could participate. And that is why we are saying that this policy is decentralized, expert-driven, evidence-based, inclusive, and most importantly, bottom-up approach. The policy is divided into 11 chapters. So I'll not give you details of each of the chapters, but I would briefly discuss about the recommendations that have been made in various chapters. So first chapter is open science. Now, open science is how we could make our science more easy to be accessed. And this is the whole idea of this major recommendation, this chapter, where we are talking about how knowledge could be shared, how infrastructure could be shared, how there could be a dialogue between various knowledge systems, and how the society could play a major part. What we are recommending under the open science, we shall be creating an observatory of science, technology, and innovations. It would be a central repository of all kinds of data generated or related to the STI ecosystem. We shall also create an archives of research where anything that is published and is outcome of public funded research. Now, if you see our scientific organization in India, most of the universities, most of the labs are working on public funded research. And idea is that whatever they are publishing, not raw data, not raw manuscript, nothing of that kind, but anything that is in public domain somewhere, that could be collected together and we could develop an archive. Similarly, we shall have a policy for all public funded projects which are being implemented anywhere, that they should be in the terms of fair, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. We would also like that there should be an access to all authors of the manuscript subsequently published, because it's funded by the public funds. And more importantly, we would like to say in a way that there should be a kind of right to knowledge of published information. So if an information is published anywhere, irrespective of the organization you are affiliated to, so whether you are working for IIT, whether you are working for a state university or a central university or a private university or an unknown place, as long as information is published anywhere, it should be part of as your right to knowledge. And we have recommended here one nation, one subscription. Now imagine, earlier when the research journals were coming, they were coming in the name of individuals. And then on the suggestion of government, the publishing house started institutional subscription. And today we are talking about national subscription. Idea is, if you see over the past 20 years, 30 years, the number of subscription have gone down because of higher and higher cost of journal. And so what is happening, that several less endowed institutions are not subscribing number of journal, which their students, their faculty has a right to go through. So accordingly, we have taken this discussion, and already a lot of scientific journals are approaching us how we would be going for national subscription. And for a country of the size of India, what could be the fee for national subscription? So we are trying how we could make it. And our assessment is, if we pull out the research journal allocation of all our institutions and convert it into a national repository, it will still have much more money than the cost of subscription. And this is, we hope, would be a kind of game changer and would provide more information, more knowledge, at least published knowledge, to all researchers. The second part is of the chapter, second chapter deals with capacity development. And as you will notice, that capacity development means not only development of individuals, but also of system and institutions, making networks and making organizational development. So what we are looking for here is that if we could develop a coherent system where continuously we could create an army of dedicated researchers working in a particular domain, so that we are having a close network, institution could be connected. It would not be, it would be only a virtual connections, and then several organizations working on a theme could work together and deliver better research. What we are trying to do, that I hope all of you are aware about the national education policy, which we adopted a couple of years ago. And there we would like to put research excellence framework for those institutions which are giving higher education. So idea is when in NEP we are talking about holistic development of the institutions or the education scenario, we would like to complement it with research assessment so that we can secure the goal of NEP. We are also thinking in terms of, we propose to create engaged universities, which would be that whatever is community needing. So if there could be interdisciplinary projects which involve not only scientists, but also social scientists, and they could develop some new interventions, which could be new innovations, new knowledge, whatever way it could come. So we are looking for that. Similarly, we are now, India has already argued for Startup India, Stand Up India. We would like to promote more and more innovation and entrepreneurship. And for that purpose, what we are trying, that each R&D institution should be surrounded or at least connected virtually with industries, with startup, with MSMEs, and also having ties with government. We are also proposing that faculty members, whether they are in urban India or in rural India, they should be continuously upskilled. They should be given more and more training. So something like UGC is doing faculty development program, but we would like that not only they are covered by faculty development, but also their research abilities, exposure to newer institutions should be increased, and they should be upskilled on various counts. We are also trying to, we have recommended the creation of collaborative research center. I think all of you who have been exposed to Australian system might correlate it, that how industry, MSME, startup works in collaboration with R&D institution and academic institutions and government. So we are trying to develop this cluster-based approach, which would be taking. Another very interesting recommendation that have been made is that R&D institution in this country, can they be converted into research universities? So as you know, CSIR has already tried it. And now idea is that if we could take it beyond CSIR also, and we could create research-based university in this country. We have also recommended that there should be independent, professionally managed, self-sustaining equipment infrastructure across the country. And I hope you are aware the Department of Science and Technology has already introduced program like Sathi, where we are providing sophisticated sophisticated analytical infrastructure to academic organizations, so that any stakeholder from any part could come and work in those facilities. Then there is a recommendations on how science and technology could be financed. So what we are proposing right now, there are so many ministries in the government which are dealing with particular subject, but they are not contributing sufficiently to research in their domain. So it could be Ministry of Jal Shakti or Ministry of Petroleum or Ministry of Coal, Ministry of Mines, but their contributions, or some other ministry. So, but their contributions in the research is not there, or it is very, very low. For example, Ministry of Textile, they are hardly interested in any research. They feel that research should come from science and technology. What we have proposed in this policy, that each ministry of the central government, state government, local government, any public sector enterprise or private sector companies must be asked to set up a research budget. And recommendation is, if I'm correct, that 2% of their allocation should be spent at least on the research. So each state is also asked to do similar thing. And we are also asking foreign multinational companies who are working in partnership with Indian organizations that they should be working, or they should align themselves to Indian needs and Indian priorities. Then we are also trying to offer some fiscal incentive to industries who are investing in research. So one is that we are asking them that at least 2% they should put in the research as a kind of mandatory. But if an industry comes forward and put more money, then we have recommended that there should be some incremental tax benefits or tax credit, tax holidays, tax waiver for those companies so that they could invest more and more funds into the research. Similarly, we are going to provide financial support to industry, especially small and medium sectors, for pursuing research through innovation support. And this would be more to pick up results of new researchers and convert them into project. And government will take care of not only grant, but also the risks. And we would be giving several models of how this revenue-based financing could be done. It could be grant, it could be loan, it could be subsidies, equity, whatever way industry is comfortable, government would like to join their hands and participate. On the line of IDBI, Industrial Development Bank, we are also trying to create a bank for science, technology, and innovation. And the idea is this bank will do long-term planning. So sometime little later, I'll come on another aspect of long-term vision. So we have to see what are our shorter projects of 2 years, 3 year duration, what are our medium-term project of 5 years, 6 years, very long-term, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. How do we see technology diffusion and licensing? So, and also we are recommending that there should be some flexibility to be provided to the researchers in GFR. So right now, there are a lot of restrictions, but we are looking for some waiver in this regard. The next chapter is on research. So what we are suggesting, those researchers who are working in academic institution or industry, they should be provided an opportunity on lateral transfer basis to the government. And this appointment would be for a fixed period of 3 to 5 years, so that after contributing their best to the government, they could go back to their respective place. And idea is that these lateral appointments would provide new thought process in the functioning of government, and they could provide some research solutions also to answer questions of some of the specific regions, some specific strata of socio-economic interest. And maybe that's something which is quite not very often discussed, the problem being faced by the rural public on this country. So we are looking at how public funded research could be, which is largely invisible to a target stakeholders such as line ministries, like whatever you are doing, probably concerned ministry, subject ministry may not be aware of those things. So we would like to do that. Doing ease of doing research, we are reducing in administrative burden on the researchers, trying to inculcate their practices on digital platform so that many things could be done easily. I hope you will remember that earlier when everything was done on paper, it used to take very long even to convey the decision and transfer of grants, which is now done all digitally and quite fast. And then we would be creating platforms which will implement open data and open access policy. And we shall be continuously working on developing new benchmarks, how research pursuance could be eased so that there are less bureaucratic and accountability in both directions. Then next chapter is innovation and entrepreneurship, which we would like to promote. One thing is, of course, several of our families have traditional knowledge and problem is that they are not documented properly and scientific validation has not been done. I'll just give you an example of treatment being offered by our Vaidyas or Hakims. They were grading it, their medicines at nanoscale, but that process has never been documented. And as a result, it is still not accepted by the Western world. So what we have, it's not only one, there is another fish treatment in Hyderabad or several other things. Idea is, if we could help them documentation, scientific validation, IP protection, then we could promote a lot of traditional knowledge and export it all over the world. And for this purpose, the initial lead is taken by National Innovation Foundation, which has already registered more than 10,000 such more than 10,000 technologies, grassroots innovations, and we are now promoting them, converting them into revenue model. We are also looking at how those fellows who are having grassroots innovations, they could be connected with scientists, and how we could help them in various processes, registration, IPR filing, any type of legal claim and those kind of things. Also trying to connect them with virtual incubators and accelerators in different parts of the countries. The next chapter is on technology development and indigenization. Here, idea is that we should be giving more and more importance to some products which are developed in India. And so if there is a choice between indigenous technology and overseas technology, and difference is not very huge, we should go and opt for indigenous technology. Similarly, if there is an equipment which needs to be imported, we should see what are the key parts or components which India could produce by itself. And if that is so, we should ask those products to be utilized or to be used by the overall equipment provider. We are also looking at how we could strengthen our industry to help bridge the gap between lab to manufacturing capacity. So we are also working to strengthen local R&D capabilities in production of technologies which are largely imported. Infrastructure would be set up and existing mechanisms would be strengthened. And of course, there is a lot of stress on giving sustainable technology a push for development and deployment to address major social economic challenges and changing aspiration of the people. And for this purpose, as I said a little ago, that we are planning to create a strategic technological board, which will be a bridge between strategic department. Strategic department means atomic energy, space, DRDO, which are partially closed and partially open. And then, so they would be acting as a bridge between those departments and to monitor and recommend technologies which are to be bought or indigenously developed in these departments in association with private sector, academic sectors, or inline ministry itself. And we shall be creating a strategic technology fund, which would be managed by this board, which would be looking for what are the spin-off technologies for civilian uses that could be developed in a strategic department, but could be multiplied by our industries. And for that, there would be possibilities of transfer of technologies, and there would be options for multiplication at ease. Yes. Next chapter is on diversity and inclusion. We would like to connect people from all walks of life into science and technology. And we are trying that how to bring people from, of course, people are aware about our gender equality program. We have already doubled up or tripled up in last 10 years, but we are looking for more and more. And as far as gender equality is concerned, we are looking that women researchers should take leadership position. As you know, today, we are seeing very few ladies at the top. So we have got number of IITs, none of them is a woman director. NIT, only one woman director. AIMS, no woman director. Of course, if you see Vice Chancellor, you will find few ladies who have taken the role of Vice Chancellor. But idea is we should have a continuous process through which lady researchers, women researchers could go to leadership position in a natural way. And there should not be some in between. Similarly, we are trying to bring in LGBTQ community into the research. We are trying to safeguard their right and promote representation and retention in science, technology, and innovation. Similarly, for Divyangjans, we are giving special attention how they could be made part of overall science, technology, and innovation programs. We are also looking for changes in certain rules. One of them is, again, for the women, we are proposing that their academic age or professional age should be counted rather than their physical or biological age, which means that if a lady is going out of scientific career for whatever reason and she was coming back, then only that period should be counted as academic age for which she is engaged in scientific activities. We are also recommending that couples should be provided working space in same cities so that one of the couple need not to choose over their partner's journey. It should be automatic. As long as they are eligible, they should be provided. And we are also creating institutional mechanisms to bring about diversity, equity, and inclusion. This institution would be studying better ways of participation, promotion, and incentivization, and ensure that recruitment, retention, and effective engagements of the excluded group and marginalized community is taken care of. Now, next chapter is on science communication and public engagement. As we all know, the language of scientists is sometimes very difficult to understand, and very often people find it difficult even to understand across the discipline. For example, it may be difficult for a chemist to understand what geologist is saying, and it may be equally difficult for a mathematician to understand what chemist is saying. And even if we see what is happening, that a lot of new knowledge which is there in research journal, it takes tens of years to be converted into textbooks knowledge. So now we would like that there should be a lot of efforts in communicating science to the public so that public confidence on the scientific research being done in India could be increased substantially. What we are trying to do is that we are creating cross-disciplinary platforms of science communication so that there is a constant knowledge transfer between researchers, science communicators, and public. Now here I have used the word science communicator, which means those people who have a flair of reading, writing, expression. They could make their own stories, their own cartoons, their own blogs, their own audio video programs, plays, and communicate the message to the society. Similarly, we would like to develop community-centric program, and regional science centers would be encouraged so that we could take up this activity in vernacular language. Now, problem is that most of the science communication is in English currently. And what is available in regional language is not of very high quality. But over the period, DSC has taken an assignment to translate Wikipedia science pages in 5 Indian languages. And that exercise is on, and we shall come. But idea is that we should develop more and more content in local language, which is publicly accessible, constantly updated, and searchable database. We are also introducing a new policy called scientific social responsibility, and we are asking each one of us to be contributing back to the society in terms of scientific knowledge, whatever we have got. And each institution would be asked to earmark some fund for science communication, so that like in Krishi agricultural institution, there is a Krishi Vikas Kendra, where they address farmers, they understand their problem, and then they answer it back. Similarly, in other departments of the university, there should be a direct connect. They should say what it would be. So what we are asking in this policy, that each public funded institution and department to have a dedicated wing set up for science communication, and this wing could address what is the research being done in that particular department and how it is going to help the society. Similarly, we have recommended that science media centers would be created at national and regional levels for interface between media persons, scientists, and science communicators, so that we could mainstream media could increase their coverage of scientific topics. This is a major concern, because currently what is happening, when you see TV or when you read newspaper, you will find a lot of news covering politics, sports, economy, but development news somehow are missing. And this is where this recommendation will hold water, that how mainstream media could be encouraged to cover scientific topics. And then the international science and technology engagements. Here, idea is that we have discussed a lot of discussion on brain drain and brain gain. Now we are talking about in terms of brain circulations, how our diaspora could contribute in national development from wherever they are. And for this purpose, we are introducing several fellowships and internships so that they could find opportunity to work in India. And we have also created a portal called Pravasi Bharati Academic and Scientific Sampark, which provides them a connect with Indian scientific institutions so they could identify what is the area they would like to work on, what is the Indian institution working in that field, and then they could take it forward. We are also proposing that how science and diplomacy could work together. And it should be both ways. Science should work for the diplomacy, and diplomacy should work for science. And we are also proposing to create international knowledge centers to promote global knowledge and talent exchange by visiting fellowship, joint research scheme, training program, invited lectures. Also, we are suggesting that number of science representatives in Indian embassies should be increased and their role be also redefined and revitalized. Then about the governance, so we are suggesting that an intersectoral, interministerial, national level governance to be there for building synergies and improving coordination among various ministries, departments to strengthen national science and technology innovation ecosystem. And similarly, we would like that there should be a mechanism central to state. Also between states. I'll request Mr. Rajendran to so there should be a mechanism between center and state and between states how to take this forward. And then we are talking about creating this NRF, which is already mentioned in national education policies. So we would like to strengthen NRF, and there would be a standardized research and innovation excellence framework based on various international benchmarks, so that we could have cohesive and transparent evaluation of all kinds of research and innovations. We propose to develop metrics to evaluate and recognize outcome and impact of research activities with respect to what is our needs. As we said earlier, there would be a possibility of lateral recruitment of professionals and subject matter experts in scientific ministries. We are going for capacity developments of research and innovations through establishment of a capacity building authority, which will help us in planning, designing, implementing, monitoring of such programs. And last chapter here is on policy governance, how policy would be governed. So we are trying to establish a policy institution which would be interoperable, and the STI metadata would be developed architecture, and this institute will conduct and promote nationally and internationally relevant policy research on science, technology, and innovations to identify gaps and also to provide evidence for effective policy making. It will also strengthen science advising mechanisms. So like several science committees are reporting to government in different forms, but here as a policy institute, they would be a think tank and would be giving their advice at various levels to the government. Now, if I could sum it up, this policy, through this policy, we are trying to enhance quality and relevance of research. Now, as I said earlier, we are number 3 or number 5 in terms of scientific publication. But if you talk about quality of research publications, that is not very high. So that is a reason of recommendation that we should improve the quality of research. We should go out of predatory journals. And if the research is applied, it should be more relevant to Indian needs. And then we should have a possibility of translating research into technology and take it to the market through route of innovation. For this purpose, we need to connect academia, labs, industry, startup, and MSMEs. We should see always what science can do for the society and what society could ask or could do. And we should also take care of diversity and inclusion, bringing in people from all walks of life and providing them equal opportunity. And scientific priority should be something that we should be working for, the national priority or national challenges, which are basic challenges like water, energy, health, food, health, environment, transport, waste processing, etc. We are looking for science communication, better science communication. We are looking for rural empowerment. We are looking for reversing brain drain to brain gain, bringing best of global scientists to India, and also to secure our technology future. If I could make my last slide or last statement, then this policy would look India to make self-reliant and position India among top 3 scientific superpowers in a decade's time. We are trying to attract, nurture, strengthen, retain critical human capital through a people-centric science, technology, and incubation system. We are planning that our expenditure on research should be doubled every 5 years. And we would like to build individual and institutional excellence in science, technology, and innovation with aspiration to achieve highest level of global recognition and awards in time to come. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this stimulating talk. And we really appreciate your effort in clarifying us this science, technology, and innovation policy in such a great detail. And now the house is open for question, and we would like to invite questions from the audience.
Yeah, Varshney sir, Dr. Varshney, can you hear me?
Yes, 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 please.
Yeah, first of all, I should congratulate you. In a simple way, you explained everything. What interests me in the whole lecture is that I see a complete, synergy between NEP and the science technology policy. What I saw is that, you have equity, inclusion, access in both. You also have, one more thing you told about NRF, National Research Foundation. The same NEP mentions that, and also they say they will fund for languages and Indic studies, so many things. What you have said, another important point is we should work on problems like water, energy, etc. Of course, there is another fund you mentioned, that is the Social Scientific Responsibility Fund. I want to ask just one clarification. Is this the same as CSR fund? What, or you want them to have this 5% more than, 2% more than whatever is given in CSR funds?
No, CSR funds are already in promulgation, so they are already there. So,
Okay.
What we are saying is that beyond that, of their revenue cost, they should bring in and put at least 2% in the research,
Okay.
which should be part of their development exercise, so that they can constantly update their own products.
Okay. Okay. And one last thing, I saw that lateral entry you have recommended. UPSC is already doing at joint secretary level from.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, that's a very good recommendation. One question comes to my mind. Of course, others also will ask. This one nation, one subscription, does it not go against the patent idea? Will the market forces agree to this?
Well, there are a lot of resistance from the publisher lobby.
Yes, of course it will be there.
They feel it would be a loss of revenue for them.
Okay.
But what we are trying to work out with them is, like, we have gone progressively from individual to institutional membership, which was relatively very large if you compare it with the individual membership. So similarly, we are talking about national subscription. Now, problem is national subscription cannot be uniform across the globe. Some nations are very thin, some nations are very thick, and the number of users are also very high. So we are still discussing with publishers. Of course, this policy is still under consideration. When it comes for implementation, those would be the challenges. But we have already started working on that. We have called several publishers, including Springer, Elsevier, Wiley, and we are discussing with them how best we could address these issues, because we have made it very clear that we would like our society, whatever is published, it should be. So we don't care whether it is Patna University or IIT Bombay.
Publicly funded money will be available.
No, whatever is published knowledge should be available to everybody.
Okay. One idea comes to my mind. You can just think it over. It may be a wild idea, but still I believe in sharing. I saw that you are giving science communication focus. IGNOU has good outreach facilities with TV, radio, audio, internet for transmission. Why not DST and IGNOU think of some memorandum so that you can use this platform for science communication? We already have the system in place. If there is some kind of memorandum initiative from your side, we could take up at our university, and maybe it would be a big way because we have the infrastructure.
Yeah. So DST has created its own platforms like National Council for Science and Technology Communication and Vigyan Prasar.
Okay.
And there are several other platforms like Niscare.
Okay.
And then we are also talking with different channels, especially channels which are promoting imaginations like cartoon channels,
Okay.
how they could take up and discuss scientific subjects and explain people in simple language or simple cartoons. We are also discussing with UGC. They have a dedicated channel for the education.
Okay.
And we would like to use their channel also to increase our outreach. What I would suggest is that IGNOU communication team would have a sitting with our communication team and see what are the possibilities and how we can complement each other. And
Yeah, we would be happy to contribute in this. So I think I have taken more than enough time.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
others may interact.
You have taken large share of the time.
Yeah, I have taken. Namaskar, sir.
may I?
And actually, sir ka itna interesting tha, I couldn't stop myself. I excused. Now I will not ask.
Now I hope you will not interrupt when I speak.
Sir, I am not moderator. Moderators can intervene.
No, I was very happy that a youngster was talking such good things, such idealistic things. Bhaskar and Varshney both, thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
आपने वो रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस की बात कही, बट सच्चाई ये है कि रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस का कुछ हो नहीं रहा ना. मुझे 75 साल में तो हुआ नहीं. See, 30 years back, that R.K. Puram Institute of Technical Terminology Commission जो है, वहाँ पे I was involved by a geology student. He said, आपकी अंग्रेजी भी ठीक है, जियोलॉजी भी ठीक है, मेरा थोड़ा कमजोर है, आप यहाँ पे आइए, मदद करिए. वहाँ पे बड़े बड़े दिग्गज यूनिवर्सिटी के, दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के आते थे, और वो जो हिंदी में डेफिनेशन बनाते थे, वो इतनी डिफिकल्ट बनाते थे कि अंग्रेजी वाली से भी भयंकर बनाते थे. तो कमीशन के वो जो थे चेयरमैन साहब, वो एक दिन ऐसे ही वॉक इन, और मैंने कह दिया कि साहब मुझे लगता है मैं आता तो हूँ इसमें, पर कुछ होने वाला नहीं है, ये जो हम किताबें लेकर आए. तो वो जो साथ वाले थे वो सब मेरे को घूरे कि क्या बोल रहा है. तो मैंने एक एग्जांपल दे दी, एक क्रिस्टल जिसके crystal without faces, anhedral crystal. Now they were making a huge definition of that, and they said, अच्छा तुम बताओ सरल भाषा में कैसे बोलोगे. I said, ऐसा क्रिस्टल जिसके फलक ना हो. तो बोले पहले क्यों नहीं बोले तुम. मैं तो बोल रहा था, तुमने बोलने नहीं दिया. अक्सर होता है कि लोग मुझे बोलते हैं कि ये बोलने नहीं देता, एक्चुअली उन्होंने मुझे बोलने नहीं दिया और उनकी डेफिनेशन बन गई. तो चेयरमैन रूल्ड कि जब तक आलू वालिया इसको अप्रूव ना कर देगा तुम कोई डेफिनेशन चलाओगे नहीं. वो बड़े बड़े सीनियर लोग थे. बोले ये नौसिखिया, हमने इसको कमेटी में डाला और ये हमारा वो बन गया है मॉडरेटर. बट नेवरदलेस, कमिंग बैक टू इट, ये जो आउटरीच आपने बोली और इंटरमिक्सिंग ऑफ साइंसेस बोला, हम कैंपस में रहते थे तो 2-4 फ्लैट दूर एक फिजिक्स के प्रोफेसर, बड़े भारी फिजिक्स के प्रोफेसर है. वो फिजिक्स वाले काफी भारी होते हैं, पर वो बहुत ही भारी फिजिक्स के प्रोफेसर, थर्ड वर्ल्ड एकेडमी, हम्बोल्ट, फुल ब्राइट एंड व्हाट नॉट. आजकल अमेरिका गए हुए हैं, वो 2-3 दिन में वापस आने वाले. उनको एक माइक्रो ग्रांट प्रोजेक्ट का फुल ब्राइट फेलो एलुमनाई की हैसियत में एक ऑफर आया. तो उन्होंने मुझे बोला कि जो तुम वो बकबक किया करते हो एनवायरमेंट की, डिजास्टर की, क्लाइमेट चेंज की, वो उसमें टॉपिक है. अब ग्रांट मुझे मिलनी है पर मेरे तो उसका है नहीं, तो मेरे साथ मिल जा. तो हमने उसमें बड़ी छोटी सी ग्रांट है, मेरे ख्याल से $2000 की होगी, क्या होगी. तो वो बोला क्या करोगे. मैंने कहा ऐसा है, हम जो बोलते हैं वही करेंगे. we'll practice what we preach. We'll create awareness about the climate change, environmental issues, waste management, और करके दिखाएंगे थोड़ा थोड़ा. तो कहाँ करोगे. मैं कहा हम अपनी हाउसिंग सोसाइटी में कर देंगे, पड़ोस वालों के भी कर देंगे. कोई ये ना कहे अपना ही कर रहे हैं, पड़ोसियों का नहीं कर रहे. पूरे शहर चंडीगढ़ में सब स्कूलों में, सरकारी स्कूलों में, उस स्लम वाले जो गरीब स्कूल है जिनके यहाँ कोई नहीं जाता, 2 गांव भी हैं चंडीगढ़ में, 2 या 3 बड़े तो अंदर ही है, एक बलोया है, एक इधर और है. फिर हम पंचकूला और शिमला, इन 3 शहरों को लेके थोड़ा सा घूमना भी हो जाएगा शिमला में. इसे था ही अच्छा है, शिमले वाला मैं कर दूंगा, तो मुझे सिखा देना. तो चंडीगढ़ पंचकूला तो कर लेना. तो नेवरदलेस ये एक एक्सपेरिमेंट है जो एक्चुअली होते रहना चाहिए. अब कंप्यूटर्स का हमें कोई ज्ञान नहीं, हम जियोलॉजिस्ट ना बड़े पुअर हैं कंप्यूटर में, और फिजिक्स वाले थोड़े से वो होते हैं ना व्हाइट कॉलर टाइप, वो सिखाते भी नहीं। उन्होंने 300 रुपया लेके एक वर्कशॉप कराई कंप्यूटेशनल टेक्निक्स की, हमसे 300 रुपया लिया सिखाने का, हमें पूरा दिन कुछ पल्ले नहीं पड़ा। और आखिर में वो बोले तुम बोले नहीं हो, मैं कुछ समझ नहीं लगा क्या बोलते हैं। है ना, हमारे सारे सवाल जियोलॉजी के फिजिक्स और केमिस्ट्री से, मैथमेटिक्स से सॉल्व होते हैं। तो क्या सवाल है, हम पूछना चाहेंगे भाई मैग्नेटिक रिवर्सल क्यों होता है, प्लेट
जी
टेक्टोनिक की जो एनर्जी है आप उसको हार्नेस कर सकते हो, ये वगैरह वगैरह। तो ऐसे करके हमारी फिजिक्स वालों से इंटरेक्शन शुरू हुई थी, बट दिस इज गॉन ऑन फॉर 30 इयर्स। और आज हम कुछ एनवायरमेंट पे और क्लाइमेट अवेयरनेस पे इकट्ठे कर रहे हो, दैट्स ऑल। मेरा कोई सवाल नहीं है, आई वुड से यू डूइंग अ गुड जॉब। बट वार्ष्णेय साहब, आपने हिंदी लोकल लैंग्वेजेस की बात की, आप तो उत्तर भारत के ही है ना?
जी हाँ, उत्तर प्रदेश से सर।
उत्तर प्रदेश के हो यार, एक
जी
अक्षर तो उनके हिंदी का नहीं बोला पूरी अंग्रेज स्लाइड में, पूरे टॉक में।
सर,
ये
अभी कभी
अक्षर ना
पूरी,
बोले तो चलेगा, पर ये बोल लेता है।
सर अभी मैं कभी पूरी कर देता हूँ।
करो करो
ये जो
आप।
भाषा का जो महत्व है सर,
हम्म,
ये तब तक है जब तक हम अपनी किसी भी वैज्ञानिक बात को आम लोगों तक नहीं पहुंचा सकते। अब आपने दो तीन मतलब बात कही, जैसे आपने कहा कि जलवायु परिवर्तन, जब तक हम लोगों को बताएंगे नहीं, उनका विश्वास उसमें जगाएंगे नहीं, उनको बताएंगे नहीं कि उनके क्या करने से क्या हो रहा है और उसको हम रोक सकते हैं। कुछ प्राकृतिक प्रक्रिया है और कुछ मानवीय प्रयास है जिसके कारण,
दोनों है, हम अपने वाला रोक लें।
हाँ, हम अपने वाला रोक ले तो ये प्रोसेस जो है, जो प्राकृतिक गति है उसी पर होगा। लेकिन क्योंकि हम उसमें अपना प्रभाव छोड़ते जा रहे हैं, अपनी हरकतें हमारी जारी हैं, जिसकी वजह से प्रोसेस तेज हो रहा है। अब दूसरे कंटेक्स्ट में देखें, अभी हम हाल ही में कोविड से निकले हैं, पूरी तरह नहीं निकले हैं लेकिन लगभग निकल चुके हैं। कम्युनिकेशन ने बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले किया है, और ये कम्युनिकेशन अंग्रेजी में नहीं था, कम्युनिकेशन लोकल लैंग्वेज में था।
Yes.
और ये हमने जन जन तक पहुंचाया कि कैसे आपको इम्यूनिटी बनानी है, कैसे आपको अपने आप को बचाना है। ये सारी चीजें जब लोगों की समझ में आ गई, आज हर हिंदुस्तानी को पता है कि ऑक्सीजन सैचुरेशन क्या होता है, उसको पता है। ये
पता लग गया, कोरोना वाज अ बिग टीचर, सिखा गया।
ये सब मेरा कहने का मतलब ये है कि जब तक हम अपनी बात लोकल भाषा में, स्थानीय भाषा में नहीं करेंगे, लोग उस पर ध्यान नहीं देंगे। तो ये जो हमारा प्रयास है कि सबसे पहले जो साइंस के बहुत ही पॉपुलर स्टोरीज हैं या आसान विज्ञान है, वो हम लोगों तक पहुंचाएं, हम कम्युनिकेट कर पाए। उसके बाद हम ये भी चाहेंगे कि जो हमारे साइंटिफिक एक्सपीरियंस, अब हमारे यहाँ जो रूरल बैकग्राउंड के लोग हैं, ग्रामीण भाषा क्षेत्रों से, वो क्यों नहीं आते विज्ञान में? क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं वो ये सोचते हैं कि अंग्रेजी में हम पिछड़े हुए हैं।
अंग्रेजी के पर चक्कर
है ना,
अंग्रेजी has become a big obstacle.
हाँ।
सर, मैं पूछना चाहती हूँ कि क्या जीएसटी कोई ऐसे प्रोजेक्ट्स इनवाइट करती हैं कि लोग उसमें अप्लाई करें टू राइट इन रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस, बिकॉज मेनी ऑफ अस मे बी आर गुड एनफ टू राइट इन देयर मदर टंग एज वेल।
नहीं, देखिए ये
How does this work actually?
हाँ,
This is
नहीं,
kind of a scenario which every one of us realizes that we need to communicate and we need to reach people who are probably not aware of the English language, which is not obviously our language, which we have acquired from the British.
Yeah.
Then what is the opening for such kind of a thing?
Yeah, Ashima,
Everybody is
actually,
willing.
yeah, I fully appreciate your concern and fully for it. But there are problems. Problems is today not only our referees would like to read a proposal in English. Okay. Also, we need to see how people from one state who speak one language are competing with people of other state who speak another language. So what we are trying right now, first experiment, I hope you have heard about UPSER program of DST.
Yes, sir.
So we are asking them to write stories in vernacular. That is the first attempt. So it's not a grant, it's just a award token appreciation. But what we are looking for tomorrow, when we are asking that center state, so each state must support proposals written in the official language of the state. That is what we are looking for. And if we could do it, I don't know if it will take 10 years, 20 years, but at least there should be a will, and there is a will now. Of course, its implementation has another aspect, because several times state government may not fully absorb the recommendations made by the center, but still you should be happy. It is in the thought processes that State Science and Technology Council should consider proposal written in the official language of the state.
Yeah,
And I'm very confident that once it is done, of course, it will take time. Initially, there may be 5%, 10% proposal, but the moment it reaches a critical mass, say 30%, 40%, there would be a lot of stress that even the national proposal, which are being, competition is at national level, are in local languages.
yes, sir. In this connection, I would appreciate the effort being taken for open access thing. What I want to say is that many of us may not be after the remuneration of such kind of a work. We may be willing to write it for our own interest. But the point is that if you leave it as a blog in somewhere, though you do not have an audience, you want it to reach to the right kind of audience. And I think if the DST can provide kind of a server where people willing to write in such regional languages, their things are getting uploaded, it gives a stamp of approval. You understand how it works in Indian.
No, that is what I said in the beginning. Vigyan Prasar is one platform. India Science, Technology and Innovation platform is another. So any positive development, we would be too happy to report in whatever language you are giving us.
वार्ष्णेय साहब, एक दिक्कत है, कई लोग हैं जो अपनी भाषा बोल अभी भी लेते हैं बढ़िया से, पर लिखना भूल गए। मैंने 10th क्लास तक पंजाबी पढ़ी है, फर्स्ट डिवीजन में पास करी थी उस जमाने में। अब मैं पंजाबी बिल्कुल भी लिख नहीं पाता हूँ, कष्ट से पढ़ लेता हूँ। हिंदी बोलता हूँ, पर हिंदी में लिखने की मेरी वो प्रोफिशिएंसी नहीं है। तो मैं बड़ा हैंडीकैप फील कर रहा था कि मैं कहने को उपदेश देता हूँ सबको कि हिंदी में करो, और लिख पाता नहीं हूँ। तो अभी मैंने देखा कि मैं YouTube पे जितना मर्जी हिंदी में भाषण झाड़ लूं, मुझे लिखने की जरूरत ही नहीं है, और मैं सारा कुछ वहां पे हिंदी में ही बोलता हूँ। मुझ पे इल्जाम लगता है, कई लोग समझते हैं कि मैं हिंदी का फैनेटिक हूँ, कई कहते हैं कि ये संगी है मेरे तरह तरह के वो कहते हैं ये जरूर कोई ना कोई इसका कोई राजनीति है इसके अंदर। मैंने कहा भैया राजनीति नहीं है, हिंदुस्तान को अगर आपने कुछ सिखाना है, इतनी बड़ी हिंदी बेल्ट है, कम से कम मैं यहाँ का नॉर्थ का हूँ तो इसको तो बात कर लूं अपनी। पर आंध्रा में रहा हूँ, थोड़ी सी तेलुगु भी बोलता हूँ, तो ये वाला चलन चलेगा, पार्टली चले और हम उसको पार्टली एक्सेप्ट कर लें, मिक्स्ड को एक्सेप्ट कर लें, प्योरिटी ऑफ लैंग्वेज को इंसिस्ट ना करें, तभी चलेगा। अगर हम बहुत हार्ड एंड फास्ट करेंगे तो फिर हम इसके दुश्मन हो जाएंगे, और किसी पे इम्पोज ना करें तो अच्छा रहेगा।
देखिए, मतलब जहां तक हमारे विभाग का बात है या दूसरे फंडिंग एजेंसी की बात है, हम लोग जो प्रोग्राम चलाते हैं वो बड़े ही यूनिक है, और सरकार में उसका कोई सामी नहीं है, कोई उदाहरण नहीं है। दूसरा,
आपका डिपार्टमेंट में मैं लेट आया, आप किस डिपार्टमेंट से हैं?
डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी, DST।
अच्छा, DST के हैं, दिख तो ऐसे ही रहा था पर
तो हमारे यहाँ जो प्रपोजल आते हैं वो किसी एक वैज्ञानिक से आते हैं या दो वैज्ञानिक से आते हैं। उनको जो पढ़ने वाले हैं एक्सपर्ट्स, वो भी वैज्ञानिक है, जो उसके ऊपर डिसीजन लेगा वो भी वैज्ञानिक है,
वो डिफरेंट रीजन है।
मेरा कहने का मतलब ये है, जो हमारा वैज्ञानिक समुदाय है उसमें ये बात आनी चाहिए कि अंग्रेजी ही काफी नहीं है, हमें विज्ञान को महत्व देनी है। जिस भाषा में लिखी हो, प्योर भाषा में लिखी हो, इम्प्योर में लिखी हो, जब तक विज्ञान की बात हो रही है हम उसको सपोर्ट करेंगे। कई बार क्या होता है कि हमारे जो रेफरीज हैं, ऑफ कोर्स आई रेस्पेक्ट ऑल ऑफ देम, लेकिन कई बार वो थोड़ा सा बियास्ड हो जाते हैं फॉर द रीजन, अगर उनका कोई खट्टा मीठा एक्सपीरियंस है किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से, चाहे वो जैसे मान लीजिए रिटायर हुए सरकारी नौकरी से, उसके बाद में किसी प्राइवेट यूनिवर्सिटी में गए, वहां उन्होंने नहीं लिया, और अब वो बैठे हुए एज ए एक्सपर्ट या रिव्यूअर, और उस यूनिवर्सिटी का प्रपोजल आ गया। उस बंदे से उनकी कोई दुश्मनी दोस्ती नहीं है।
रगड़ दिया मैंने देखा।
तो मतलब इसकी सजा उसको क्यों मिलनी चाहिए? मेरा कहने का मतलब ये है कि हमें ये चाहिए कि जो हमारे एक्सपर्ट्स हैं वो अपने आप को इतना मजबूत करें कि अगर कोई प्रपोजल आता है, किसी भी भाषा में आता है, हमें उसका स्वागत करना चाहिए। उसके अंदर जो साइंटिफिक कंटेंट है, जो नॉवेल्टी है, हमें ये देखना है हम उस सोच को कैसे बढ़ावा दे सकते।
Any more questions from the audience?
मेरा एक सवाल था।
सर
आलू वालिया साहब का क्वेश्चन पूछने के बाद में तो कुछ स्कोप रहता नहीं है दूसरे आदमी का, लेकिन मैं एक क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहता था
जी।
आपने साइंस और डिप्लोमेसी की बात की और डिप्लोमेसी और साइंस की बात की, तो दो ऐसे स्फीयर्स हैं इंडिया के पास, तीन हैं एक्चुअली, आर्कटिक, एंटार्क्टिक और हिमालय, जिसमें साइंस बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले करती है
जी।
और कहा जाता है कि साइंस इज द करेंसी इन ऑल दीज एरियाज लाइक आर्कटिक एंड एंटार्क्टिक। जितने भी कंट्रीज हैं, आइदर दे आर आपके काउंसिल के मेंबर हैं, आर्कटिक काउंसिल के, या उसमें ऑब्जर्वर हैं, जैसे चाइना है, साउथ कोरिया है, जापान है, सबने अपनी आर्कटिक पॉलिसी डिक्लेयर कर दी है, वेबसाइट पे डाली है। हमारी कंट्री ही एक ऐसी कंट्री है जिसको सबसे पहले ऑब्जर्वर का स्टेटस मिला था, और वो उसने अभी तक अपनी साइंटिफिक पॉलिसी और अपनी पॉलिसी, आर्कटिक पॉलिसी, आई वोंट से साइंटिफिक पॉलिसी, आर्कटिक पॉलिसी अभी तक डिक्लेयर नहीं की है। अंटार्कटिका में तो हम 40 साल से हैं, we do not know what is the government's policy in Antarctic. तो ऐसा क्यों है?
सर इसके लिए 2 आर रेस्पॉन्सिबल हैं, एक रसिक, एक रवि।
नहीं, मैं नहीं कहूंगा क्योंकि मैं एमईए में नहीं हूँ, तो इसलिए आप ये ब्लेम मेरे पे नहीं डाल सकते हैं। जहां तक साइंस का सवाल है, मेरा काम खाली साइंस करके, सुनिए मेरी बात सुनिए, इंडिया को प्रोमिनेंस दिलाना था, वो हम लोगों ने कर दिया। आपका जो काम है वो तो एमईए का है, आपका है जो पॉलिसी बनाते हैं।
मैं बड़े लाइट मूड में इसको कहा क्योंकि आपके साथ में ये लिबर्टी ले सकता हूँ इसलिए। लेकिन मतलब जो हमारी सोच रही है अंटार्कटिक के लिए और आर्कटिक के लिए, उसके लिए मेन मुख्य रूप से हमारा जो गोवा सेंटर है, वो अर्थ साइंस मिनिस्ट्री के बिहाफ पर सारा जो पॉलिसी का रूपरेखा है और क्या होगा। कई बार क्या हुआ है सर, जब मैं विदेश मंत्रालय में जाता हूं और वो कहते हैं कि आपके पृथ्वी विज्ञान मंत्रालय के लोग आर्कटिक की मीटिंग में भाग नहीं लेते हैं, और विदेश मंत्रालय के लोगों को बताते भी नहीं है ताकि हम भारतीय रिप्रेजेंटेटिव को वहां भेज सकें। इसकी वजह से प्रॉब्लम होती है क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ दूसरे लिमिटेशंस हैं। लिमिटेशंस क्या हैं जो साइंस डिपार्टमेंट में हैं, क्योंकि वहां कोई बंदा गिन रहा होता है कि आप कितनी बार विदेश गए हो, आपको कितनी बार बोलने का मौका मिल गया है, ठीक है। मतलब उसका इससे कोई लेना देना नहीं है कि आप राष्ट्र के लिए एक स्थान हासिल कर रहे हो एक अंतरराष्ट्रीय प्लेटफॉर्म पर। तो ये एक ऐसा मुद्दा है, बट ऑल सेड एंड डन वी नीड ए पॉलिसी फॉर आर्कटिक, दैट आई एम फॉर इट। सर आप म्यूट हैं सर, रविंद्र जी।
मैं आपको एक पर्टिकुलर एग्जांपल बताता हूँ लॉ ऑफ द सी का। अब अनक्लॉज जो है यूनाइटेड नेशंस लॉ ऑफ द सी, कमीशन ऑन द लॉ ऑफ द सी, उसने 82 के बाद से एक बहुत अच्छा लॉ निकाला है, और पूरी दुनिया की जो ये है सीज है, ओशंस हैं, वो उससे गवर्न होते हैं। और इंडिया उसमें राइट फ्रॉम द बिगिनिंग, राइट फ्रॉम 1982 से लेके 2017 तक बहुत एक्टिवली रोल प्ले कर रहा था। बिकॉज देयर वाज ए 21 मेंबर का उसमें नॉमिनेशन होता है, और इंडिया ऑलवेज यूज्ड टू बी देयर। सडनली एमईए स्टार्टेड फीलिंग कि नहीं, इसमें इंडियन साइंटिस्ट की जरूरत नहीं है। दे प्रेफर टू हैव ए लीगल ऑफिसर इन द इटलॉस, इंटरनेशनल ट्रिब्यूनल ऑफ लॉ ऑफ द सी। और वो 5 साल जो थे उसमें कोई भी इंडियन नहीं गया। देयर वाज नो नॉमिनेशन सेंट बाय एमईए। उसमें आपका मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ साइंसेज इन्वॉल्व नहीं होता है, क्योंकि नॉमिनेशंस हैव टू बी सेंट।
सर आप उससे पहले एचपी राजन होते थे, ही वाज ए लॉ ऑफिसर।
मैं भी था, लेकिन मेरे जाने के बाद में 5, जबकि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया को पता था कि इंडिया का सबमिशन आएगा, और इंडिया का जो सबमिशन है वो आपको पता है 7,000 लाइन किलोमीटर्स है, बहुत बड़ा हमारा क्लेम है, लेकिन उस पूरे 5 साल में 17 से लेके 2022 तक एक भी इंडियन वहां पे नहीं रहा, एंड वी लॉस्ट अ ग्रेट डील।
अब आप मेरे को बताइए, राइट नाउ आई एम द चेयर फॉर इंडियन ओशन रिम कंट्रीज, ओके, उसमें हम क्या कर सकते हैं? सो इंडिया इज चेयर एंड मतलब आई एम रिप्रेजेंटिंग इंडिया, सो आई एम द इंडियन मतलब चेयर फॉर दिस आईओरा। So please give me your suggestions कि क्या कर सकते हैं in the Indian Ocean rim countries.
I would like to separately, because ये बहुत बड़ा डिस्कशन है, मैं इस फोरम पे आपको डिस्टर्ब नहीं करूंगा, but I just wanted to point out कि जो साइंस एंड डिप्लोमेसी है उसमें MEA should play a very great role, and DST being a nodal agency, they should put their foot forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we can conclude now, because I think there are no more questions from the audience. I would request my colleague, Dr. Kakoli Gogoi, to kindly offer the vote of thanks to the speakers and the honored members.
Yeah, thank you. A very good evening to all. It gives me immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for this event to all the dignitaries assembled here at this hour. Firstly, I would like to thank our respected speaker, Dr. S.K. Varshney sir, for enlightening us on the topic that is upcoming science, technology, and innovation policy. So it was indeed a very informative presentation. Then I would like to thank Sri Rajendran sir, Dr. Godavari ma'am from GSI Bangalore for honoring this event with their presence. I would also thank Professor Aluwalia sir and Dr. Rasik Ravindran sir for their participation, interaction, and also encouraging us. And I would also like to thank Professor R. Bhaskar, Professor Minal Mishra, Professor Benito Desmukh, under whose continuous support and guidance we are able to accomplish this lecture today. And thanks are also to Dr. Devendran for preparing publicity material. And I also thank Dr. Ashima Saikia madam for moderating today's online lecture. And last but not the least, our audience who have gathered here to make this event a great success. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you to you as well, Dr. Kakoli.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to Ashima and Dr. Kakoli and Varshney sir for
My pleasure.
accepting. Yeah, and all these links will be available online.